some check-ins. Nice. So one of my favorite exercises is name recognition. So I like to work it by sending the dog away for a little find it, and then go, Roy, yes, and feed him for that. So this way, what Mr. R is working on is responding to his name as a check-in to come visit, but also so for some focus. If your babe beats you to the punchline, where again I was sort of talking, you can always feel free to feed them for when they do come back to you. So again, I'm going to send them away with a little snack, have them go forage for that lovely find it, Roy, yes, and I feed him for that lovely name recognition. The benefit of, again, creating nice association with his name, yes, that one rolled, a good rolly one. Good job. Is it can get your dog in the habit of thinking their name could be a great way to get their focus, but then from there, view it as then what would I like my dog to do after the fact? So sometimes saying their name might be like, hey you, but then you gotta let the person know what you'd like. So sometimes after I get his name, you know, going in my direction, so Roy, yes. I might go from there and then get a lovely little sit from him, gorgeous job, yes. And I can feed him for that. And then that way, the lovely guy can start to create behavior sequences or chains, yes. You do want to make sure to mark behavior. So if let's say your dog is doing something they do or don't know, you can sometimes capture behavior, so almost like a photograph. So let's say Mr. Hansen comes on over to me and he offers a sit, you could go yes and feed for that even though you didn't ask for it. So you could capture behavior. Otherwise, you could also do luring. So you could use your food to bring the dog up into the position you were hoping. So for example, you could get the sitting, standing, or down position with luring as well. So if let's say he wasn't quite as savvy or he's a little bit nervous, you could go ahead and ask for your down and use the food to help it happen. So if let's say in the beginning you do this beautiful downward facing dog, I would still feed for the attempts because this is his first day working with me. He doesn't know me. He also doesn't know the environment. So I want him to think that any good effort in the right direction will give him some sort of paycheck. So again, I might try now from either the sitting position. For some, they prefer bum on the floor first, then lower into the down, and then we can feed that. If again your babe is past luring, that is wonderful, but sometimes what a lot of folks will tell me is the dog only responds when the food is available or when the dog is in a comfortable home environment or an environment that he feels safe. So if your babe is in the beginning working through luring, which is using the food to create the behavior, you want to start to fade out the lure. So if we tended to use the food every time by his nose, we want to take it out of our hand, create the behavior with the verbal, so again we might go sit, with the hand signal, and then yes to feed. So they're still getting the paycheck for the right behavior, it's just the food is not the thing creating the response in the dog once they figure it out. So again, we get that little sit, we go yes, and then feed the dog. Nice. So hold on, there's a crumb, delicious. So in working with our handsome guy, we can start to also feed for either behavior and skills. So if let's say your dog does know how to do a place behavior or other behaviors like it, you could use those to replace behaviors or skills you don't love. So if let's say your dog tends to do a lot of jumping, or they mouth, or they get overly exuberant and maybe do other displacement-like behaviors, getting your dog to offer skills instead of that can be a great way to, in the beginning, redirect them onto a healthier outlet. So if they don't always know what to do, you may have to start off by showing them something that is simpler than the original skill you were hoping for. So when company comes over, it's too hard to maybe ask them for a down stay on their dog bed because the dog is too stressed or too excited. You may want to start off first with asking for some find-its. So again, we get them up and moving. And we can just work a little bit with some of this lovely loose leash walking, which he's been really good at so far today. So ready? So if I do lose him, you'll sometimes notice I do a little kissy noise. That is the way I like to do a positive interrupter. So if let's say I'm losing his attention or he's about to do something I don't really love, but I want him to redirect back onto me, I will use that little kissy noise and get his refocus back onto me and the direction we were hoping to go in. Nice. So my leash again stays nice and relaxed. The leash is not creating the behavior, but it's there for your safety net. So if your big weren't so common about doing loose leash walking with distractions, you'd want to first start off again in those comfortable environments. Yes. So view it like learning how to drive a car. You have to first learn the skills of how to drive before you attempt to go onto the highway. So if you don't really know how a car works, you might start off first working in a parking lot. And then you'd build up to, again, going for some small adventures on smaller roadways until your confidence and your skill set was at a great level. Then you might try highways. So view dog training very similarly, where you have to start at the low end of the spectrum, build up the understanding, the foundation. Oh my goodness, and chewing is still optional. So that way your dog can start to have an understanding before you throw in distractions and more difficulty. But nice job, beautiful.